Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. It is a sad day in Atlanta for Falcons fans. We are going to talk a lot about that, a lot of injuries, and a loss to the Buccaneers. They're now in second place in the NFC South. Fox 5's own Myles Garrett is going to join us to discuss the Falcons later in the show, but we're going to start off with the biggest news in all of sports that took place. And there's multiple things I want to talk about this. It's the Shohei Ohtani signing of $700 million over 10 years. One of the, I'm not even going to say one of the craziest contract. Like my jaw literally hit the floor. I think we were eating dinner or whatever, maybe having a drink over this. And I was like, what? 700 million? Like, did I hear that correctly? First of all, what do you think of just the number that he got and how is it outrageous? Is there any way he could possibly live up to that contract? I know it's Shohei Ohtani, but I mean, we're talking about $700 million. But there's also some other aspects that we'll talk about this later in the show. But yeah, initial thoughts on a 700 million. I mean, we're almost talking about $1 billion. Like, he'll probably make close to $1 billion in his career just playing baseball.
Yeah, it's up there with those like Saudi contracts they're actively don't care about losing money. Those Saudi leagues, whether it's soccer, whether it's the Live Golf, where they just shell out money. It does not matter to them at all. This is like that contract is in that realm. Well, John Rahm just signed a $600 million deal to join Live. I mean, it's absolutely
bigger than that.
It's inconceivable.
More money than John Rahm from
Saudi. We can't put it into words how crazy this deal is. Now, I mean, if we're going to talk about the P's and Q's and living up to the contract, there's a very, very, very small margin of error to live up to that contract, because you're assuming not only is he going to return from his elbow injury, he's going to come back and be that pitcher and more. So you're talking about potentially a $35 million hitter and a $35 million pitcher. That has never been done, period, either or, let alone the guy together. So in terms of like an investment standpoint for the Dodgers, I mean, you're putting all your eggs in one basket. Now, obviously, they've taken into account the injury. They obviously wouldn't give him this contract without them feeling confident that he should, I guess. You don't hand $700 million out on a could return. I think they think he will return and be the pitcher he once was. And obviously, we talked about it ad nauseum about how the Braves should be considered possibilities because of Ohtani's impact in the financial sector, where, you know, the Dodgers they were already a national brand. They're a global brand. They're very close to Japan. Japan is going to immediately all become Dodgers fans. And that kind of financial, impact cannot be understated. Now, if we're talking on the field, I don't know how you live up to that contract. I mean, there is a reality where he does, but it's hard to imagine.
I'll tell you, he doesn't. He can't. There's 0% chance. 0% chance he can live up to that contract. But like I said, we talked about the financial ramifications and the positive impact that could have on an organization and whoever signs them. That's the only way that this contract makes any sense. If they just start making even more money than they're already making. I mean, they are the Dodgers. They're the only team really I could say that could go offer this $700 million and it not totally tank their franchise. They use Shohei Ohtani's agency reportedly used the Blue Jays offer to perfection, got like an extra $100 million by making this entire fake flight and everything. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but I mean, talk about Scott Boras.
That's tinfoil hat stuff.
This guy just made Scott Boras look like an amateur, getting $700 million for Shohei Ohtani. I think every Japanese baseball player, if they don't have him as their agent, they need to reconsider, because what a job by him getting this contract. Listen, you can't live up to this contract in terms of on the baseball field. And I know a lot of Braves fans are probably like, oh, of course he goes to the Dodgers. Like, that sucks. I'm like, dude, they just spent $700 million on this guy. Like, they had that kind of money in their back pocket. They could have spent that on Max Fried, Garrett Cole, and Bryce Harper. I know Bryce Harper's not a free agent, but like, that's the kind of guys that they could have gotten for $700 million. I would rather them have Shohei Ohtani, which you don't know how he's going to pitch again. You don't know if he's ever going to be that pitcher again. And listen, he's one of the best offensive players. So, you know, he's probably worth $35 million, $40 million alone just as an offensive player. But is he better than Aaron Judge? Like, I don't know if I'm going to say that. And Aaron Judge got $360 million. 360, right? I believe. He just doubled that. I just don't see any way from a baseball perspective. Now, I know there's a lot of deferred money, which is a conversation that we can get into another day. We don't have enough to talk about it. I hate that rule. The fact that you can defer money and get, like, it doesn't count against the luxury tax is just crazy in a sport with no salary cap. Like, what are we doing here? How is that a rule? But it helps out the Dodgers. To me, there's just no way that I see him even coming close to living up to this contract. It's just about whether he can make the Dodgers enough money and stuff like that. And they clearly were in a position where they had saved up, cut enough salary over the last couple of seasons to make a run at this guy, and they were not letting him go anywhere. It didn't matter what. I mean, talk about handing a guy a blank check. I mean, this is the definition of handing a guy a blank check. Like, they did not care what this number. Like, I genuinely believe if they had to go higher, they would have. Like, they were going to do whatever they possibly could to land him. They land him. But as far as I'm concerned, from a Braves perspective, like, I'm perfectly fine with it. First of all, it's going to be cool, hopefully, to play him in the playoffs. I mean, I'm going to love playing Shohei Ohtani. He needs to be on the biggest stage. So I'm excited from a baseball perspective. It sucks that you got to compete against him, but at the same point, it's kind of fun to compete against him. You want to compete against the best. And there's nothing about this Braves team or roster or whatever that's constructed right now that should be scared of the Dodgers. There's nothing that should be scared. Yes, they got better yesterday, but they were going to get better regardless with $700 million to spend, and they spent it on one guy. Let's see what they do the rest of the offseason and future off seasons, but I can't imagine they can go out there and just keep affording, because they got Freeman, Betts, and Ohtani all under contract to these huge deals, and they still don't have a starting rotation next year. They still don't have a starting rotation.
So that's where I was going to go with it. That they still have holes. This is a very top-heavy lineup. Yeah, those three is very scary, but they still have holes. Very top-heavy lineup. Again, to your point, the rotation has a lot more question marks than answers. And if we're talking about timelines, I mean, their best three players that you just mentioned, Ohtani, Betts, and Ohtani, wrong side of 30, guys. Our oldest player, our oldest core player, Matt Olson, right side of 30. That just shows you where the Braves are going versus where the Dodgers are going. Putting your faith in a bunch of guys who, listen, and Freeman's been an Ironman. Betts has also been an Ironman. And Ohtani, other than the actual pitching injuries, he's also been available a lot of the time. But listen, guys, putting your money and your faith into guys who are on the wrong side of 30 is never a smart investment, especially allocating that much to just one guy, where the Braves are spreading out their investment to guys that are 22, 25, 26, 27, 29 years old. At the oldest, Matt Olson is the oldest one of those core players. So, I don't know why Braves fans are even fretting. I mean, right now, the Dodgers lineup doesn't hold a candle to the Braves lineup, because the Braves lineup is so deep, 1 through 9. Like, our worst batter last year was Orlando Arcia, who was an all-star. Now, I don't expect him to be an all-star again this year, but when you have 7 reliable bats that are just all, at, near, or above 800 OPS, I mean, that's unbeatable. Nobody should be worried about the Braves lineup right now.
We got to go to break. Myles Garrett's going to be joining us to talk about the Falcons. A tough loss, a lot of bad to talk about, and we are going to discuss it after the break.